Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group Maths 2. Today we are going to present the cybersecurity in 3 different countries, which are Sweden, Spain and Denmark. But before that, let us introduce ourselves first. My name is NURUL binti OSMAN and my matric number is 1190511.
My name is AINA RUHANA binti ROSLAN and my matrix number is 1190510.
In this video, we're going to talk about 8 things. First is National Cybersecurity Index. Second is timeline. Third is strategy objective. Fourth is cybercrime. Fifth is Cyberlaw. Next is we talk about penalties, comparisons, and lastly is thought and recommendations. Okay, let's start our presentation by comparing this country by using NCSI. NCSI is National Cybersecurity Index. The purpose of NCSI is as a global index which measure the preparedness of the country to prevent the cyber threat and cyber incident. The NCSI also a database which publicly available evidence material and tools for NCSI capacity building. Okay, let's see the rank of these 3 countries. Since 2019 until 2021, these 3 countries rank at top 50. We can see Spain at 2021 Spain are ranked at number 5, followed by Denmark at rank 12, then lastly Sweden at rank 43.
The table shows the timeline of National Cybersecurity Strategy (NCSS) of Sweden, Denmark, and Spain. For Sweden, its first publication of strategy is in 2010 and the implementation is in 2017. Then in March 2020, updates are made through the publication of the Comprehensive Cybersecurity Plan 2019 to 2022. As for Denmark, government presented the National Cyber and Information Security Strategy in December 2014, and in May 2018, second National Cybersecurity Strategy is published. Lastly, for Spain, adoption of NCSS is made in 2013, while the implementation is made in 2019.
Mainly, the vision of any country for handling the cybersecurity challenges at the national level is determined in NCSS. It cited from Namin and Ashraf in 2016. Based on website ANISA, the common objective found in all 3 NCSS are dealing with cybercrimes, citizen awareness, critical information, infrastructure protections, establish national cyber contingency plans, involve in international cooperation, foster R&D, and lastly is arrange cybersecurity exercise. Besides, there are also common objectives found in NCSS of Denmark and Spain, which are initiate an incident response potentially, initiate baseline security necessary, initiate incident reporting mechanism, enhance training and programs of education. Lastly, the common objectives found in NCSS of Sweden and Spain are balancing security with privacy, initiate a public-private partnership, initiate an institutionalized form of association between public agencies.
The next comparison metric is cybercrime. The following is Europe Cybersecurity Exposure Index for 2020. From 0 to 1, the Cybersecurity Exposure Index calculates the level of exposure to cybercrime by country. The higher the score, the higher the exposure. Europe ranks first in the continent rankings and has the lowest exposure score per country, which is 0.329. Denmark ranks second in both of Europe and global ranking, which is 0.117. Meanwhile, both of Sweden and Spain ranks 9th in Europe ranking and 14th in the global ranking, which is 0.210. The next is about statistics or incidents that are related to cybercrime in all 3 countries. In Sweden, there were over 200,000 computer and internet frauds reported in 2017. Then in 2018, disruption of business processes was the most common cyber attack among Swedish companies. In August 2020, it was reported that data breach at Swedish security company leaked 38,000 sensitive documents. Next, for Spain, the most common type of cyber victimization is computer fraud. Since 2011 to 2019, there have been 166,152 victims of cyber attacks and 8,914 people were arrested for cybercrime. Then, last but not least, in Denmark, in September 2019, a hearing aid producer, Demand, was hit by a cyber attack estimated to cost the company over $500 million DKK. In April 2020, Denmark-based agribusiness group Danish Agro was the target of a ransomware attack. Then in 2020, the computer system of Denmark's largest news agency was attacked with ransomware.
Cyberlaw. In Sweden, cybersecurity is legislation extend over several areas of Swedish law, such as data protection, particularly the processing of personal data is regulated directly by the EU General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR). Next, personal data processing by governmental authorities responsible for crime prevention, investigation and prosecution is regulated by the Swedish Act on processing of personal data relating to criminal offence. Criminal offence including cybercrimes such as breaches of data security are subject to the Swedish Criminal Code. Lastly, copyright infringement is regulated by the Swedish Copyright. In Spain, there is a code for the cybersecurity law which state rules to be taken into account regarding to the protection of cyberspace and to ensure the enforcement cybersecurity. The example code are Law 36/2015 of September 28 on National Security, which regulate the key principles and agencies as well as the functions they must perform for the defense of the national security. In Denmark, the Constitution of Denmark 1953, under Section 72, safeguards the right to privacy. Under this section, no breach of privacy can occur in postal, telegraph and telephone matters, except by court order, or if authorized by a statute. Next, EU General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR). The General Data Protection Regulations, commonly known as GDPR, is a European Union law. It is directly applicable in Denmark since it is a member state of the EU. The Danish government has enacted the Danish Act on Data Protection 2018 to implement the GDPR, which is repeal the earlier Danish Act on Processing of Personal Data 2000. However, this Data Protection Act is not applicable in Greenland and the Faroe Islands. The definitions given under the GDPR and the 2018 Act are in the agreement with each other.
In Sweden, person who unlawfully obtains access to a recording for automatic data processing or unlawfully alters or erases or inserts such a recording in a register shall be sentenced for breach of data secrecy to a fine or imprisonment for at most 2 years. In Denmark, any person who in an unlawful manner obtains access to another person's information or programs which are meant to be used in a data processing system shall be liable to a fine or to imprisonment not exceeding 1 year and 6 months. If it is done with the intent to procure or to make oneself acquainted with information concerning trade secrets of a company or under other extraordinary aggravating circumstances, the punishment shall be increased to imprisonment not exceeding 6 years. For Spain, on the discovery and revealing of secrets, punishment consisting of imprisonment from between 1 and 4 years and a fine of between 12 and 24 months. If it is revealed or transferred to the third parties, punishment consisting of imprisonment from 2 and 5 years. Then on fraud, punishment consisting of imprisonment from between 1 and 3 years and a fine of between 12 and 24 months.
For comparison, based on the research that we have done, in our opinion, Spain is the best country in general and baseline cybersecurity indicator among these 3 countries. It is because the level of Spain score in that characteristic is highest than Sweden and Denmark. As example, we can see in protection of digital service in Spain, score 5 out of 5. In cybersecurity policy, it scores 7 out of 7. Yet, in cyber threat, Sweden has the lowest rate of malware infection in the world compared to other countries, and it is taking precaution to boost their security strategy to fight cyber terrorism threats.
There are few recommendations to improve the existing cyber regulation. First of all, threat cybersecurity is an important organizational issue. Digital security is not only for IT specialists, it affects everyone, including someone who works in the government. Thus, the government should adopt this kind of mindset and make cybersecurity part of the way we do things around here. Next, embed more security into the supply chain. The problem that we are facing is too many parties processing confidential information, so the chances for a leak are bigger. To avoid this from happening, we can tighten up the procurement and the contracts should embed cybersecurity. Lastly, collaborating with the private sector. the government should consider harnessing some of the expertise and experience to make the collaboration can bring in fresh external thinking, benchmarking, and peer comparison.
In the view of Islam, all the laws has been stated in its own sources such as Quran, Hadith, Ijma, and Qiyas. Thus, there's four main sources become proposition to every problem that occur even involving an issue like cybercrime. There are many verses of the Quran that touch on personality and human behavior. Cybercrime occurs when men forget the law of God, follow his lust and is influenced at the behest of the devil. So if we turn around and live and understand the deepen of the verse of Al-Quran, whole behaviors can change for the better. As example, in Surah An-Nur verse 26 until 27, A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تدخلوا بيوتا غير بيوتكم حتى تستأنسوا وتسلموا على أهلها ذلكم خير لكم لعلكم تذكرون.
O you who have believed, do not enter houses other than your own houses until you ascertain welcome and greet their inhabitants. That is best for you. Perhaps you will be reminded.
In this verse, Allah decides if you want to enter a house other than your own, ask the owner's permission beforehand. So from the Islamic principle, you cannot access the property of others without their permissions. This is the Islamic approach to the right of privacy.